covert transmission from popflypopshop.com, Remus, with a .45 pistol and a cyanide capsule in his pocket. His objective was to gather crucial information on Nazi Germany's progress in developing an atomic bomb while working as a spy for the United States government under the Office of Strategic Services. His codename, Remus. But the world knew him as Mo Berg. Before his espionage career, Berg enjoyed a successful career in baseball during the 1920s and 1930s. As a catcher for MLB teams like the Chicago White Sox and Boston Red Sox, he earned the nickname The Professor for his linguistic skills and intellect. Mo Berg's extraordinary life, transitioning seamlessly between the realms of sports and espionage, highlights a man who utilized his diverse talents in the most deadly double play.
Hey, everyone. Happy Tuesday. My name is Evan, and we're here live with Daniel Jacob Horine, artist, creator of Popfly Pop Shop. Say hello, friend.
Hello, everyone.
About 5 or 10 minutes, we're going to be joined by Hall of Famer, one of my favorite relief pitchers of all time, Lee Smith. In fact, if you want to ask him a question, go ahead and submit your question right now. If we ask your question, you will get a freebie surprise from Popfly Pop Shop. So get that question in. But before we get to Lee Smith, let me say this. I know Lee Smith. He's one of the first closers I remember as an Angels fan in the 90s. Remus? Daniel, who the hell is Remus?
Remus. Well, I think that was the question on a lot of people's minds this Sunday when I dropped this. But this is a piece dedicated to a player named Mo Berg, and he was an okayish catcher back in the day, 100 years ago. But he had a second career after baseball, and that was as a spy for the OSS, which eventually became the CIA.
I mean, you've had some deep cuts, but I pride myself on oh yeah, I know, Franco, I'm in on that. Some middle relief guys, I'm in on Pasquale. I know that guy. I saw this drop and I'm like, I feel like a moron. I have no idea who this is or the story. So how long was this in the can, so to speak, for you?
It's been in the can for a while. It's just one of those stories that I had to get to. It's one of those I think just one of the most compelling and interesting stories there are in baseball. And it was just a matter of time of when I got to it, because it was just something I just had to do. And now was the time. And I intentionally, it's part of the artistic process in telling a story, intentionally used a nickname that was not associated with him, not commonly associated with him. I redacted his name from the top there because I wanted to have reactions like you, like who is this? I've never heard of Remus. Remus was actually his code name in the OSS, not his nickname on the field. So I wanted people to react the way you reacted, say, who is this? And hopefully head to Google and start digging on this guy. Didn't show his name, didn't show his face in this piece, and all contributing to the themes of mystery here.
Well, it worked, because that's exactly what I did. Yeah, I never heard of him. I never heard of his story. It has a cool noir kind of look to it. Mm-hmm. And I'm excited to kind of dig into a sort of a mythology I wasn't aware of. So this is available right now on Popfly Pop Shop.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, for 2 weeks now. We're trying something in season 8 now, is having each release. We're still doing a weekly release, but the releases last for 2 weeks instead of 1.
I think that's cool, because often on a Sunday, we'll see somebody post oh my gosh, I forgot to get it. Mm-hmm. And does anyone get an extra one? And also, that shipping cost adds up after a while. So this looks like it gives an opportunity for people to not miss out, but also combine some orders, save some money, which obviously you don't make money on shipping.
Right.
So right now there's 3 prints live. Yeah.
There is the Golden Greek, based on Pete Pihos, the legendary Philadelphia Eagles player. and we've got Remus live now. And for one more week only, we have the man of the hour, Big Lee.
Now, this is the one I'm excited about. No offense to football and Remus. I am super excited for Lee Smith. For me, when I was a kid, again, he was sort of that post Dennis Eckersley, the closer that just sort of had a shutdown vibe. This is pre Mariano Rivera, pre Trevor Hoffman. Lee Smith was like, he was the man during that time span.
Totally. I totally agree. And it's great now to see the Hall kind of catch up to what we knew when we were just 10.
Yeah. So right now, when you go to Popfly Pop Shop, there is an autograph option. There is, as you just mentioned, he is a Hall of Famer, a Hall of Fame inscription option. And go ahead and submit those questions in right now.
Right.
Maybe if I could ask you before Lee Smith pops on, can you recap how the cornfield experience went for you guys? It looked like a
man. So we had our first, I would say, first in-person Popfly event. We've gone to baseball stadiums and we've been at the Topps booth at the National, but this was our first kind of top Popfly only event. And it was at the Field of Dreams in Iowa, the movie site where they filmed the movie. And if you're not familiar, well, you can't be watching this and not be familiar. But the field looks exactly like it does when they shot the movie. In the house, just a short walk up from the field, still there and still looks and is decorated just like it was in the movie. So we had our Popfly event there at the Field of Dreams about a month ago, and it was awesome. I couldn't have asked for just a better event. We had a ton of people show up, and it was so exciting. It was magic. It was absolute magic. And as soon as the plane touched down on the way back home, we were already thinking about what we can do next year. We had nothing planned. We didn't know how it was going to go. And at the event, people were saying, "Oh, I can't wait for next year. I can't wait for next year." Like, "Oh, okay. Well, we have to plan something then." So we were planning some real big, real fun things in the future. So can't wait. And you're going to be there next time.
I hope I can. It's cool. It reminded me of you talking about when you started Popfly, when you did your first pop. You did your Will Clark.
Mm-hmm.
There's the first time you do something, you kind of have to do it, even if you don't really feel like you know what you're doing yet.
Yeah.
And so like you put it out there, and already it sounds like some creative juices are flowing for, man, if I did this next year, what would be some tweaks I would make?
Totally. And at some point in the evening, we were playing ball in the field and the sun had set, and then we moved into the house. And I stood on the stairs there and addressed everyone and just thanking you for also who watching this, for their support and how meaningful that was. And the message of the movie was not lost on me. If you build it, they will come, and go the distance. All these things of just Popfly requires stamina and consistency, and it requires a distance to go. And the element of making something and not knowing if people are going to take to it or enjoy it or be a part of it. So for those things to have come true and to be able to be at the Field of Dreams to realize those things, it was just an incredible experience, and it was magic from beginning to end.
Well, all I saw was positive remarks from people, and it was fun watching sort of the merch sort of disperse slowly out onto the digital universe of everyone. Like, what did I miss out on? Mm-hmm. And it sounds like there are some internal discussions for next year then, huh?
Yeah. Well, bigger and better things that we're up to. We hope to go back to the Field of Dreams, keep it at the same location, and we might see some athletes with us next time. Who knows? But we're gonna do better than we did before. We learned a lot this last time, and we're gonna do bigger and better.
Well, cool. We heard great stories of people flying there, driving thousands of miles to get there, and lots of memories made. And that'd be cool if we could swing that next year. I'd love to have a catch with my kid there. That would be amazing.
Yeah, it was awesome just to see the families there, and not just the kids. Yes, there was some kids there, and dads playing catch with their kids, but there were some grown-up kids with their older dads, and it was really touching, and that's kind of the heart of the movie, you know, is that relationship, that dynamic with a grown-up kid and their father. So it was pretty special. Speaking of special, Evan, we have Mr. Lee Smith is backstage. So let's quit yapping and let's talk to the legend right here, Mr. Lee Smith.
There's the man.
What's up, guys?
What's up, Lee Smith? This is Lee Smith, Hall of Famer, the first closer that I really fell in love with as a kid. Thank you so much for joining us, Lee Smith. How you doing?
My pleasure, brother. Thank you guys for having me.
Thank you.
Well, hey, let's show that cover straight away. Get your questions in. So, Lee Smith, what was your reaction when you saw this? This almost has more of a baseball card feel to me. What was your reaction seeing you on this beautiful comic book style cover?
I was looking at that, man, and I'm like, boy, I sure wish I could get that leg up that high again. And I really like it. You know what? Once I saw it, there was nothing I wanted to change or anything about it. I really love that photo.
Thank you.
Did you have comic books as a kid? Were you into that at all?
Oh my goodness, yeah, man. We had the bubble gum, the bazooka, all of man. We used to take those and put them in our spokes of our bikes to make it sound like we had mufflers, man. I ripped all the lips off of Nolan Ryan back in the day. But that was something all the kids kept.
Nice.
Yeah.
Well, I love the quote, Daniel, that you found in there. Because when I think of you, Lee Smith, I don't think of you as a relief pitcher. I think of you as a closer.
Okay, thank you.
Is that distinction important to you?
Well, yes, because you know what, man? The main thing back in the day is I always thought if I'm going to be a relief pitcher, closer, whatever they called them back in the day, but mostly what relief pitcher was finishing the game. That was the main thing that I really pride myself on, being available for the manager and to be the last guy standing, man, because I really felt good to have your team want to get the ball to you to finish the game.
Well, I'd love to ask you, that's a shift happening in baseball right now, like a strategy shift, where if I'm going against the Braves and the 8th inning, it's Acuna, Albies, and Olsen, a lot of teams would use their closer in the 8th against their best hitters. And that's where I want my best guy. What would be your response to that strategy?
I like that idea. I feel the same way because you know what? They talk about the save, but what if the save is in the 7th or the 8th inning and you got the bottom of the lineup coming up in the 9th inning? They don't keep as many, I think. We had pinch hitters in that National League, you know, the guys was like the DHs in the American League. But like I said, man, I see so many times now that the most important inning might be that 7th or 8th inning. So you don't really get to see the closer if you don't hold them in that time.
Is that harder for a closer mentality to sort of not know when you're going in as opposed to just I got the 9th?
Well, that's why they call us relief pitchers. They didn't call us closers back in the day. We were relief pitchers, man. So 7th inning on, I had a chance of going in the game. So it wasn't like I couldn't go to the bullpen until the 9th inning because I could very well go in the 7th inning. But the main thing as a relief pitcher, you have to learn your body and not throw so much in the bullpen. I see the guys now want to hear that mitt pop and stuff like that. My era, most of the bullpen was on the left field, right field lines. So the fans saw you throwing, you heard them, Rob Dibble down there pounding the mitt, sound like some guy shooting the cannon off down there, right? So you have to learn, you got to save your bullets, man.
Yeah, save those bullets. As Daniel said, there is a Hall of Fame inscription option. Obviously, if you can get that, go for it. And that was a rub for me for a while. For me at that point, because Hoffman and Rivera, they're still playing when you're Hall of Fame eligible.
Yes.
So when you're Hall of Fame eligible, you're the best closer of all time, and they're snubbing you. And I don't understand the Hall of Fame's resistance to put the best relief pitchers automatically in. Like, you don't see that with like the top 5 second basemen; they're all in.
Yes.
So why are they slow to appreciate relief pitchers, Lee Smith?
You sort of answered your own question there, where you said about they really didn't understand the relief pitcher. They thought, well, anybody can throw 1 inning. But you know, the main thing about a relief pitcher, if you go out there and you give it up in the 9th inning with 2 outs, man, that has such more of a heart bearing on the ball club. You get your butt kicked in the 4th inning, like, man, we got a butt kick in the 4th. But that getting on that getaway day, man, grabbing that bus, man, with a 2 outs, 9th inning, you give it up. That really hurts the ball club, man. But I think the main thing now is they think about the possibility of the wild card and playing more games and you know, things like that. But like you said earlier, if you don't get your best pitcher in there when the game is on the line, it doesn't matter because you're not going to be there in the playoffs and things like that. But I really think that what really stuck out to me and myself, Goose Gossage, Bruce Sutter, and all those guys was the longevity. You find so many guys will be be out there the best thing since sliced bread for 2 years, you know, and then you never. So the one thing with me was I always thought about being there for the manager and things like that. But to answer that question as a whole, they didn't understand that relief pitching. They just thought it was an easy job for somebody to go out there and throw 9 pitches and punch out the side. Okay, it's over with. But they finally got a little bit looking into where teams that win the World Series got through to the playoffs. If you didn't have a good bullpen, you didn't go anywhere.
Right. That's why you're a Hall of Famer. To me, like, Wagner's a Hall of Famer. Frankie Rodriguez should be a Hall of Famer. I don't know why it's taking.
Don't get no respect for John Franco, man.
Franco, he's 400 and something saves.
I'm telling you, man, this dude got 400. You don't even hear anything about Frank. You know,
nothing.
Like, this Ben him was the first 2 guys to get the 400 saves. You know, and I'm like, why isn't nobody talking about Franco? Because now, you know, he didn't punch out guys. He got him with the change up to get him out, but look at his numbers.
Oh, I think you're muted, Lee.
We lost your sound. I want to hear you rant on Franco.
There you go.
There you go. You're back.
Sorry about that, guys.
No, you're good. Hey, we're talking with Lee Smith, Hall of Famer, and Daniel Horine. Hey, Daniel, if you could show your print again.
Yeah.
A question I wanted to ask you guys was, like, I mentioned Hoffman and Rivera. Rivera's obviously on the Yankees his whole career. Hoffman basically on the Padres. He had 1 year on the Brewers. Lee Smith, despite being a dominant, greatest closer of all time triangle, you hopped around a little bit. So, yes. Daniel, like, what made you decide to do exclusively Cubs for Lee Smith here?
WGN. Growing up, growing up, and you know, there was TBS, there was the Braves, and there was the Cubs, and to me, growing up, like, that was like, you guys were superstars. You guys were on TV more than Tom Selleck was or Ted Danson.
Yeah.
You know, so for me, you're a Cub, and you went into the Hall as a Cub, and so that's just how when I think back my mind's eye about Lee Smith, that's how I associate you with. And not only that, I wanted this piece to be a love letter to Wrigley Field, you know, having that ivy there and the iconic sign. So this is very much for the Cubs fans, a very, very Chicago piece here. And sometimes with players that are on multiple teams, I will show kind of these small representations of those teams on the piece. But this piece, it was just for Chicago.
Okay, great. I'm glad you did that, man, because I worked for the Cubs.
Well, what's your reaction to that, Lee Smith? Because you look at, like, Rivera's on the Yankees his whole career, and you don't have that, but you can say, man, I played on the Red Sox, I played on the Orioles. Like, do you enjoy that you got to play on different cities?
Man, I got to play, I think, in probably 3 of the best cities for baseball in the history of the game, man. The
Cardinals,
the Boston and St. Louis, man. Yeah. But you know what? I want to back up a little bit to Trevor Hoffman. Myself, Trevor Hoffman, we was on the Cubs and the Padres, man. We won 82 games a year. Rivera got 120 wins, man. You're supposed to get 600 saves. Yeah, man, trying that your outfit's being a change up in San Diego, man. The ball jump out that damn place more than it did Chicago. But
Yeah.
Harvey and things like that. You think about that and look at those guys' stats of the game finish. That'll let you know what a closer he is not.
Mhm.
You don't find very many guys there put their closer in and tie games and stuff anymore. And that was what we was left for.
Mhm.
It's like the Burt Blyleven of relief pitchers. Like,
yeah, man. Yes, definitely.
So how can I ask you on that? What's the mentality if you're a closer and your team is struggling and you got to get work? Like you can't just not pitch. Is it hard to get that energy and going to like come in to a game that's already?
It was tougher for me with the big lead, because you get out there and hey man, I'm working on a fork ball, and you go out there and you're about 3 arms deep before you figure, hey, I got a pitch now. You're out there working on things during the game, but you know what? When you struggle like that, it always seem like what happened, that you guys would like struggle, lose 4 or 5 in a row, and then you got some kid in there throwing a shutout for like 8th inning, like, well, this ain't a good day to get work. So you have to like, step back from your own pride and things like that and think about the ball club. I think that's what's been forgotten, I think. But you can throw in the bullpen for 100 days straight. It ain't the same as facing a major league hitter.
Mm. Yeah, I have another question about your Cubs career. I was looking through your stats and something stood out kind of off to me. You hit a bomb.
Yes. That's the first major league hit, man. I got a Hall of Fame and God rest his soul, Phil Necro. Hey, it was so strange, man, that that old stadium, they had like that had a little net down the left field wall, right? I hit the ball, it hit the net. Gerald Perry gets it and wants to throw it back in. So I stop at second. And I never forget the umpire was named Frank Pulley, was the umpire at second. And he says, hey, Smitty, it's a home run. Get the hell off the field.
You're standing on second?
Yes, I got game ticket, man. Yeah, yes, it's unbelievable. Matter of fact, you got to put in there too now. It was back-to-back with Jody Davis. Back-to-back homers, yeah, man. And then we used to give our shortstop Larry Bowe such a hard time. I'm being a closer, got a home run, and he's got an everyday shortstop, and he don't have a home run.
Oh, that's awesome. What a great story.
Yes.
Well, hey, Lee Smith, I grew up as an Angels fan. I still am. And so I remember you holding it down. And I don't know how much you've heard this, but Troy Percival never has stopped talking about you. He gave you credit constantly for being his mentor. Can you share a story there?
Well, you know what? For some reason, Troy Percival remind me of what I tried to do to Fergie Jenkins, picking the brain and things like that. And I always would think about him. It was Mo Vaughn and Joe Carter. Percy would get him 0-2 with the fastball, and he'd be wanting to throw the curveball, and he'd drop a curveball, bullet off the wall. And I'm like, I never forget him in the Boston bullpen, and he's got like Mo Vaughn 0-2. And he's walking around the mound. I'm like, oh, my God, he'll start thinking again. And I'm waving like this in the bullpen, right? And he looked down there, and I'm like, don't throw it, man. Next pitch, fastball. And he tipped his hat to the bullpen as he's walking off the field, man. But the one thing that really stuck out with me and Percy is, the media tried to make something of it to the fact of him going to be the closer. And I'm trying to help somebody to take my job. And they used to say, well, why would you help a guy that's going to have my job? I'm like, well, the boy's throwing about 105. He's going to get this job somewhere,
Wow.
But it was the one thing that all those guys in the day, like Fergie Jenkins, Rick Russell, Bruce Sutter, and all those guys, they helped me. And always giving something back. And I love Troy Percival. Great kid, though. But he was sort of trying to learn how to pitch because he was a catcher.
Yeah.
He was trying to learn how to pitch. He was really, really a thrower. And I used to talk to him about, pitch selection, and it wasn't about him, who to face, who not to face, because he had great enough stuff to get anybody out. And I'm like, all you got to do is tell them what your damn sight is. You're half blind out here throwing 100 miles an hour, man. They're going to be scared to death when they step in there. He had this nasty hook. He wanted to show it, man. But I'm like, don't show him that pitch. Wait till deeper in the season to throw him the curveball, man. But he had great stuff, man. I'm glad to see him stay healthy as long as he did.
Was that a shtick when he would pretend like he couldn't see? Was that just to freak hitters out, or was that legit?
Legit, he's blind as hell.
If I'm batting and this guy's throwing 100, you can't see.
And just telling you, man, Fabregas had to like put like white tape on his fingers and stuff so he could see, man. They go with pumps because this sucker couldn't see. I'm like, man, these hitters would not get in the box if they knew what this boy's like. Yes. Yep. And then he would be out there drinking coffee and he'd be like nervous, shaking. But I'm like, Percy, you need to chill, man. One of those guys that I used to talk to so much about stop throwing. And him and Rob Dibble like that. I think it probably cost Rob Dibble about 4 or 5 years of his career, man, throwing in the bullpen. I'm like, man, you got to save your bullets. And they were like, what does that mean? I'm like, stop throwing, man. Stop throwing. Wait till you're going to face somebody. But they had great careers.
Man, this is all great advice from Hall of Famer closer Lee Smith. Put the team first. Be ready to do anything your coach asked you to do. Save it for the field. Hey, Daniel, as you show this print again, go to popflypopshot.com. There's autograph options, including a Hall of Fame inscription option. Is there a fan question, Daniel, that pops out that we can share with Lee Smith?
Before we do, there's a Daniel question here. I have Lee Smith. So I mentioned WGN, and I cannot understate how big that was, especially to kids who were not in a market that had a field. You know, you're in the middle of Idaho or something like that. You know, there's kids in Alaska that are either Braves fans or Cubs fans because of WGN and TBS. So my question that I've always been curious about was that on your mind? Did that change the way you showed up or performed, knowing that you're literally, and I wasn't joking, you're seeing more than Tom Selleck or Ted Danson or any of those stars there. You were the TV star. So how did that change how you approach the game?
It was, you know what, man? Fergie Jenkins used to always talk to me about how you carry yourself on and off the field. But the weird thing is, I hear, if I go to Chicago, I would hear 10, 20 times people talk about WGN and as a kid. And they always throw me under the bus because they said, you know what? I was skipping school or leaving school a little early to get home so I could watch the game on WGN because it was 1 o'clock and they didn't get out of school till like 3. So a lot of them was leaving school a little early, so they could get there to see the WGN and the TBS. And when they had Harry Carey and Skip and Chip and all those guys coming in there together, even made it more, prevalent to the guys want to see the game and stuff like that. But that WGN and you hear so much about that in the TBS. That was it back in the day, man. And the weird thing now is I don't know if either one of them still carries the game just like their persona, but it's really great to hear those kids talk about, hey, man, when I was in the 8th grade, I was skipping my math class to get home to see you pitch. Dude, I mean, LaTroy Hawkins and all these guys were talking about how he'd run home about 3 miles to see me pitch, and then he'd run back to school so he could practice basketball and baseball.
Oh my goodness.
And it was like, really see that.
I bet. We got to. Lucky enough, we got to work with Dave Winfield a couple days ago. So we pulled my kid out of school to go see Dave Winfield, and the first thing out of my kid's mouth when Dave walks in, he's like, "Hi, Big Dave. I skipped school to see you." And he's like, "No, no, don't say that."
I tell you what, I was just back there in Chicago. Mark Gray, Sean Dunston got into the Cub Hall of Fame. Yeah. It was like unbelievable to see some of the guys I hadn't seen in a while, especially Gracie and all those guys, and the things that I used to say to them as kids, things like that. I used to give Sean Dunston a hard time about swinging at that slider in the dirt. I was to tell him, hey, man, if you don't quit swinging at that slider, you're going to be my setup man. All those things like that, you think of that and see those pictures and stuff like that, especially when you see the Sun Times and all the old papers and the Tribune and things like that, and you hear and talk about that. But nothing is better than the WGN and the TBS in the day, man.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yes.
So, Daniel, is there a fan question you want to?
Yeah, let's
see. Smith.
This one comes from a friend of Evan's and I, Joe Torre. Joe Torre says, Lee, who's your favorite reliever to watch pitch right now?
Right now? Oh, I got to go with Jensen for the Red Sox.
Yeah.
They tried to write him off a couple of years ago, and I was like, you know what? I went through the same thing that he was going through. The one thing that really was sort of disappointing to me was when he got his 400 save. I didn't see as much publicity as that with Kimbrough. You know, I'm like, this guy came from a catcher, you know, to close in, to the Dodgers, high stake, and now he's in Boston. He went to Atlanta. I just thought, you know, he's sort of like the John Franco. He don't get that respect that I think that the guy should.
I totally agree. He's my favorite reliever right now. I'm from LA. I'm from LA, and I hated how the LA treated him.
Yes.
You know, they were terrible to him. Sorry, Dodger fans, but you were terrible to Jensen. But he's one of the greatest that there is playing right now.
God, yes, I'm telling you that, and I show how he bounced back. He did decent in Atlanta. He went to Boston, probably one of the premier Yankee Red Sox thing, man. And so, you know, just to see him get back up there and hopefully keep that positive frame of mind, because I know it's wearing on him, but he's a big guy and he's sensitive. The big guys are sensitive.
Yeah, I love me some Devin Williams and Raisel Iglesias.
Okay,
but, man, Dodger fans, be careful what you ask for. You're gonna Evan Phillips is great, but you're gonna run him out there in a playoff game on a 1-run lead. We'll see how that works out for y'all.
Hey, there, man. They got good ball clubs. I'm glad to see them and like the Braves and hopefully Houston. But you know what? One team I'm sort of pulling for. I like Seattle.
Okay.
Seattle. I like them. I like those kids.
I'm ready for playoffs now. My boy's already done. So,
not long to wait.
There's another question that just popped in right at the end. I'd like to ask it to you, Mr. Smith. It says, Larry asked, Mr. Smith, what's the most memorable or challenging moment you experienced on the mound during your career, and how did you overcome it?
Probably the All-Star game, 1987, in Oakland. And I'm the only pitcher we got left. I ended up pitching 3 innings in this game.
Wow.
And actually, I get there. I actually have to hit. I don't have a helmet. I ain't got a bat.
You hit in the All-Star game?
Yeah, in the All-Star game. It was unbelievable, man. Ryan Sandberg and Andre Dawson, they were going home when I came in there.
Wow.
Roger Craig said hey, who the guys have pitched in All-Star games or played in All-Star games? I'm going to try to get all the kids in that hadn't played or pitched in the game. Everybody. He says, give me the big right-hander. I look, I'm the only fella in the bullpen. I'm like, okay. Wow. I ended up pitching 3 innings. And really, that game sort of put me over the hump of being one of the premier relievers, because I actually faced Mark McGuire there in Oakland. And our National League team won the game, man. But it was really good. Sort of, I had to step off the mound a few times. I had goosebumps, man, because they had standing ovation, but it wasn't for me.
Man, that would not happen today. The GM would be on the phone, get my closer out of that game.
Yeah, but then you know what? That happened again in Milwaukee. Remember, they called the game because they didn't have any pitchers, and that was like a trivia question for a while, because who the guy that pitched in the All-Star game, you know, the only guy standing. That was it.
Yeah.
It's amazing.
Yeah.
Great stories here, man. Lee Smith, we love you. You're so likable, and
man, I enjoyed this. Thank you. I'm glad I could do it.
Let's show that print as we send Lee Smith off. So this is only available for about another week. Go to popflypopshot.com. It's a Lee Smith tribute piece, partly Wrigley tribute piece. You get an autograph option, Hall of Fame inscription option. Where he's changing the landscape of baseball. Open the door, let more relievers in. Daniel's leading that charge. Man, Lee Smith, thank you so much for today. This was so much fun.
Thank you guys for having me.
Thank you, Lee.
All right, fellas. Okay.
Woo! Man, I just want to hear that guy talk.
Oh, that was great. That was great. It's you know, they always say don't meet your heroes, but these guys are great. These guys are so wonderful. And Lee Smith, prime example. What a great guy to talk to.
Yeah, man, what a picture of how baseball has changed. Can you imagine an all-star game today going later and later and leaving a premier closer in an exhibition game for 3 innings? Like zero chance of that happening.
Totally. I didn't realize that it happened, and I was trying to imagine it happening now. There's just no way. No way.
I mean, we've even seen starting pitchers. They used to go maybe 2 innings, 3 innings. Now I feel like starters go 1 and done in the All-Star game, because the teams, they don't want their star to get hurt in an exhibition game, and they want to set up their their staff to say, hey, we're going back to work in 2 days. We got to get our staff all rested up, and we don't want to burn out our ace. Lee Smith's taking an at bat in an all-star game.
I know, that's nuts. That's nuts. I didn't hear if he said it. Who did he face as a pitcher? Did he went to bat, right?
He said he got an at bat. Yeah, we'll have to someone dig that up. One of you stat nerds out there.
Yeah, if anyone's on the interwebs right now, tell us who threw to Lee Smith in the 86 All-Star, 86 or 87? What did he say?
87 in Oakland is what he said.
All right, someone could come up with the answer. We'll shout it out here on the stream.
Man, I love several times organically just comes out of his mouth. Fergie Jenkins, just what an influence. So hey, if you get that Fergie pop fly, you put these two bookshelves together. I love hearing the bookend of his career saying Fergie poured into him, he poured in the personal. I love it.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, and that's no surprise. Fergie, to this day, Fergie is just beloved. I know you and I chatted with him a couple of years back and did a pop fly, and just a great human, and it's no surprise he was an inspiration and mentor to Lee.
Man, Cubs fans are literally the best. They like Sean Dunston, hearing him talk, like good career, and just hearing beloved by this sums up Cub fans to me is Mark Grace, lifetime Cub, end of his career is on the Diamondbacks as a bench player. He's the one who sparked that rally off of Rivera to win the ring for Diamondbacks, and Cubs fans just jump on the Diamondback bandwagon, cheering for Mark Grace to get that pinch hit. That's just Cub fans, man. They are the best.
Totally, and that's probably what made Lee's experience, at least in part, so memorable. I was listening to his Hall of Fame induction speech, and he just kept coming back to Chicago. Chicago was special, and Chicago was very special to him.
Man, and he mentioned he did really play on the elite of the elite franchises. He played 8 years in the Cubs, 4 in the Cardinals, 3 on the Red Sox, 2 on the Angels, 1 on the Expos, 1 in the Reds, 1 in the Yankees, and then 1 on the Orioles. Man, what a fun career Lee Smith had.
Totally.
Well, props again to you, Daniel, for putting the relief pitchers front and center where they belong. We got the Mad Hungarian, we got Hoffman, we got Lee Smith. Now keep the relief pitchers coming. I will eat them up every single time that you do. And we do, as Lee mentioned, you see Kimbrel and Jansen. I see those guys as future Hall of Famers. I hope we open that gate a little bit wider and get those guys in. But Wagner's got to get in first. And I, selfishly, Angels fan, Frankie has got to get in. We get those guys in, and then I see the next slew coming in as well.
Yeah, totally. The Hall is slowly moving in what I'd call the right direction. Slowly.
Yeah. Well, hey, any hint on upcoming? I know we mentioned your double spy print. What about post that week? Who's next on the horizon for the baseball world?
We've got some. Let's see. We've got some more great players from the '80s. That's kind of the sweet spot. Some more great a slugger from the '80s that is kind of. I don't know if he's on deck, but coming soon. And a more recent Dodger is on the horizon. So
a more recent Dodger on the horizon.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm gonna guess not Bauer.
All right, drop it in the chat. Tell me, should I do the Trevor Bauer pop fly? I'll say this. I pre-scandal, his energy I really liked. He had a comic book energy like no one else that I had seen in the majors at that time, mostly because of his his persona with his whole saber thing and just this aggressive energy. I'd reached out. I was like, hey, maybe we can do something, and of course heard nothing back, but I loved what he brought to the game. I will specifically talk to the Diamond. His energy he brought was so cool and so WWF. Yeah, it was hard to miss. So obviously I don't do too many current players, but he was someone who caught my eye way early on. So
I think we talked about him with Hungarian, didn't we?
I think we might have. I can't recall, but you know, maybe it was with that persona thing. But there isn't a lot of players that do that, and that's what I love about the Mad Hungarian. That's what I love about what Trevor Bauer did was he used his persona as a tool, and you know, not a lot of players do that, and I think they're leaving stuff on the table to, you know, to leave that tool in the shed.
Yeah, and I'll even nuance the conversation more. It's not scandal, it's accusations. That's
right.
We're in a strange world of due process, and we're just to say, let's let due process take its journey. That's not me affirming any horrific act. It's just saying I don't know what I don't know. And
that is true. That is true. It is the accusations. So, but yeah, so you know, maybe we'll see Trevor Bauer in the pop fly world. I don't know. But
okay, but more recent Dodger. I know Joe Torre's brain is ticking right now and turning.
Yep.
Awesome. Well, man, I think Lee Smith is. Yeah.
Oh, before we go, Joe Torre. Speaking of, he said he's talking about the All-Star game. He said later in that inning, Tim Raines tripled off Jay Howell, scorer Ozzie Virgil, and Hubie Brooks gave Lee Smith the 2-0 win for the '87 All-Star game.
Dang. So he said he went through McGuire during, like, that's almost the apex of the Bash Brothers. That's in Oakland. That's pretty dang awesome.
Yeah, that's amazing. Thanks, Joe.
Not surprised Raines got a triple, though.
Yeah. We're still waiting on to see. I don't know who he batted against in the '87 All-Star game or '86 All-Star game.
Yeah, that's so funny. That would never ever happen today. A relief pitcher would never get in that. Well, even with the DH now, but regardless, how funny the game has changed. Yeah.
Totally.
Well, man, thanks for putting Lee Smith front and center. Thanks for teaching us a new story that I will need to do some more digging in and look into some espionage stuff. Daniel, thanks for doing the fun stuff that you do. It brings us levity and little escapism from all of our wears and tears and worries of life.
Thank you so much, Evan. And there, anyone who wants to dig into the story of Remus or Mo Berg, there is a great movie called The Catcher Was a Spy, starring Paul Rudd. So
never even heard of it. Would it be a baseball movie or is it more broad?
I would. I even call Naked Gun a baseball movie, so I'm not the person to ask. If they throw a bat in a baseball, then it's a baseball movie. So I don't know. Don't know.
Naked Gun helped put you on the map, my friend.
It was funny that Reggie, when I met with him for the latest piece, he was like, "Man, I wish I knew you back then." And I was like, "Yeah, I wish I knew you back then." But
yep,
you know.
Awesome. Well, hey, Daniel, thank you so much for this time. Thanks for everyone who joined us. I didn't think I could like Lee Smith more, but goodness gracious, he made that happen. Get your Lee Smith, put it next to Fergie, put it wherever you want. Popfly fans, good to see you all today. Go online, popflypopshop.com.
Take care, everyone. Bye.
Yeah.